So he is great on that level. Of course, we're probably getting a little bit carried away because we don't know what's going to happen down the line. But for right now, there's not much more the Eagles can
Okay, you're getting a mute. That sounds like you're saying they're both on time and too soon. The question, same question to you, Sarah Spain. Is all this on time or too soon for Carson Wentz?
It's on time because this is all the information that we have to work with. We can't make any decisions about what happens going forward. I think he's in the MVP conversation. I think the Eagles are the best in the NFC now. Just a couple weeks ago, we were deciding between them, the Packers, and the Panthers. Packers lose Aaron Rodgers. Panthers lose to my Bears when they barely can complete one single pass. So right now it is the Eagles, and he is an MVP candidate. The only thing I'll mention is that with Peters going down, last year when they lost Lane Johnson, their right tackle, to suspension for 10 games, he went from 5-1 to 2-8. So we'll see how he succeeds when an important member of the offensive line is out. But right now, we're right on time.
That's a good point, Sarah Spain. So 2 starters from their team now out for the season after last night. An offensive lineman and a linebacker, Tim Kalisha. Are you with Sarah in anointing the Eagles as favorites to get out of the NFC? And are you with the MVP train for Carson Wentz?
There's a little too much excitement for a 10-point win at home over the Redskins right now. We need to back off just a little. Okay. The excitement about Wentz, everybody in Pennsylvania being excited about what they're seeing, that's totally understandable. And I agree with both of you. That wasn't bad. That wasn't bad.
That was Woody Page, honestly. Here's a point deduction.
No,
Go ahead.
It wasn't like that. But I agree with both of you about the MVP. He is the favorite for the MVP. The team, now they're 6-1. They got 2 games with San Francisco and Denver at home. They got a great chance to be 8-1 when they come to Dallas, and they can wrap up the East if they could, before Thanksgiving, if they win that game. But we are not in the era where the number 1 seed gets to the Super Bowl all the time like they did 20 years ago. It's still a crapshoot if you're a young team once you get to the playoffs.
And now to Bill Plaschke.
I'm all for Carson Delphia. I think he's really been playing well, and I think, you see what I did there? No, nobody gets it. All right, anyway, the Eagles. Here's
now
the
you're all losing points. For starting.
It's got nothing to do with Wentz. It's got nothing to do with Wentz. They have the number 1 rushing defense in the NFL, the number 4 rushing offense in the NFL. That normally translates into wins. Wentz is sick passes last night. To Corey Clements and Mac Hollins, you see those passes? They were unbelievable passes. Scrambles the way he moves back there. Again, I think they are the best team in the NFC. December 10th, mark it down. They have to play the Rams. Come to L.A. to play the Rams.
Oh, we're going to mark it down. I know you're going to mark it down. Is anybody else going to mark it down in the greater L.A. area and show up at the stadium? That's the only question I have. Hey, guys, if you would have went Wentz, Adelphia, and at least on the Always Sunny bit, maybe that would have got your points. We'll move on. At the same time that Wentz is winning MVP, Ben Simmons is triple-doubling, and Joel Embiid is going for 30 points. Before you guys get carried away, as you always do, this was Philly's first win of the season. They're now 1-3. But what does a triple-double in your 4th game portend? And are you ready to anoint the Sixers on time or ahead of schedule, Tim?
Well, I'm going to stay away from the eye test Bomani brought up because the eye test on Ben Simmons' shot is still that it's very awkward looking. But the results, the numbers are great. And he can do a little of everything. And he's going to be this year's Rookie of the Year. We have no idea what this year's first pick, Markelle Fultz, when he's going to contribute. If he gets into the mix at some point, then they may really have something. There's always going to be a little bit of concern around Embiid, and until he plays 75 games in a season, and he's okay doing that. But when they have Simmons and Embiid going, and they start to get some of these other pieces, they're going to be a very interesting playoff team in the East.
Sarah Spain.
Well, I think the question was, are they ahead of schedule, right? It's the process ahead of schedule. And I think as much as there's hope in Philly and as much as it's great to watch these 2 guys both perform the way that expectations had them playing, you can't be ahead when neither of these guys started playing in the NBA when they were expected to, right? Both of these guys start behind because of injuries, and they're 1-3, okay? So it still has to result in victories. It still has to result in a good team. It's great that they've been able to make picks that pan out talent-wise, but until this team has a winning record and until these guys are showing they can last for a season without getting injured again, the process is still just a process.
Bill Plaschke.
Yeah, but Sarah, Simmons is only the 3rd player in NBA history to have a triple-double in his first 4 games. And he's been a revelation. Because this comes from someone in Lonzo Ball's town, Ben Simmons has been a revelation. And he's 6'10". He's doing this out there. He's more magic than Lonzo Ball is. I think Embiid has been also a joy to watch. I think all the process was about was promise and continuing the promise. And this team is full of promise. And I know they're only 1-3 right now, but it's really, really early watching them. They're the most fun team to watch in the NBA. And when can we be able to say that about Philadelphia?
Bomani Jones.
Here's the thing, though. How can you say that a team is ahead of schedule when they ain't had no damn schedule? Like, the whole thing about this process was the check was in the mail. We just going to get there eventually. At some point, we're going to be good, and now it seems that we may have arrived at that point because the Sixers have two guys who are 6'10" who can take it to the basket, face at the top of the key, and get there, and they have two entirely different games, Simmons and Embiid. But, of course, the issue is, as we pointed out, forget about if Embiid can play 75 games in a season. Can Embiid play 35 games in a season? That's going to be the real test as to how far this goes. With Simmons, we're going to have questions about his jump shot. Perhaps will improve as the time goes on. But there was never any schedule on this. That was the beauty of the process. You could keep pushing this thing on down the line. What they do have, though, is something that we knew they had when they drafted both guys. Two dudes with the potential to be top 5 players in the NBA. How they stack everything else around them, we'll have to see. But it does look exciting.
What do you think a
well.
triple-double in your 4th game of your career portends to, Bomani?
I mean, the last guy to do it was a gentleman named Hambone. I can't remember if his last name was Williams or Jackson. All I know is I had to look
Hambone
Hambone
Williams, yes, 50 years ago,
Williams.
1967.
I mean, I had never heard of him before. So
Do you know how he got the nickname Hambone? Somebody just randomly yelled Hambone when he was with his friends when he was younger, and he turned around and looked, and then he was Hambone. All of a sudden, he was Hambone.
He had a Cadillac Bro-Ham. That's how I thought he had gotten him himself.
Not bad. Kalisha, what does it portend?
I just wanted to get some Hambone Williams talk in here and get the San Diego Rockets on record for getting that. But I think we can all guess that Ben Simmons' career will go better than Hambone's.
Do you guys remember Hambone? Yeah, what would ever happen to his career? These are questions I turn to you, Tim Kalisha.
I know the name.
You remember the name. That's great. Take a
him.
mute. We're bringing you on here to provide some history. Sarah Spain, last word.
Yeah, I just want to say, if we're able to say 4 games in that a triple-double is such a big deal, then we should be able to say that 1 and 3 is a big deal. Both of them have room to change, right?
Okay.
The record can get better and he can get worse. We just have to wait.
Plashke, did you call them the most fun team in the NBA? You've got them ahead of the Warriors? You got them ahead of
right now,
maybe
yeah,
like the Bucks,
because you don't
maybe
know
like
what they're going to do.
Giannis.
And listen to what Embiid said last night about he's trash talking the whole game. They're really fun to watch.
Tim was worried about Ben Simmons' shot. That might be true, but Ben Simmons' shot makes, he looks like Klay Thompson compared to what Markelle Fultz's shot looks like right now. So they got some work to do there. We'll move on. In non-Philadelphia taking over the world stories, we've got the World Series. And this is your account, Bill Plashke. Coming in hot tonight, 97 degrees at first pitch. Those are the pitching matchups because of the length of the each LCS. LA is able to go with their set rotation. So does Houston, but maybe more wear and tear in Keuchel and Verlander. Plashke, this is your moment. I'm going to let you back clean up here, knock in all the runs that your fellow panelists leave on base for you. So, Sarah, first to you. What's the X factor in this series, and who'd you rather be going in, LA or Houston?
Appreciate getting the start, and I believe I am the Dodgers because you went with the starter that you most wanted, not pushing me to game 2. But if I had to say why, it would be because of 2 reasons. Number 1 is rest. They have obliterated the teams that they face, so they come in feeling extremely strong and rested, and they do get to pick the starters that they want in the order that they want. Second is the bullpen. Their bullpen has a .94 ERA in relief innings this postseason, while the Astros are at 5.04. That difference to me tells you everything you need to know, especially when the Astros are coming in without quite as much rest. So
this is a lot of great information you have on Dodgers dominance that you didn't necessarily have when they were playing the Cubs a few days ago. So here's a mute coming your way.
Think about that.
Whoa.
Tim Kalisha, how about you?
The X factor are the Astros pitchers who were considered the weakness until Game 7, and then they threw 9 shutout innings. Charlie Morton and Lance McCullers, and they will be welcomed as heroes when they pitch in Games 3 and 4 in Houston. And I think that is what, for me, turns the series slightly back in the favor of the Houston Astros. The teams were pretty much dead even, except for that. I like the Astros line up a little better. Obviously, the Dodgers bullpen is better. But I think those pitchers that were, a question mark, having done what they did, they're okay now, and that's gonna serve the Astros well.
You like Houston's starting rotation better than LA's. Plashke was making a face that only Plashke can make. We'll get to him in a second. First, Bomani Jones.
Now, is it possible that the X factor will be the ballparks that we're talking about playing in? Now, park effects can vary wildly depending upon who's measuring them. But one thing we've known historically is that Dodger Stadium has been one of the all-time great pitchers' parks, and Minute Maid Park is a bandbox that people love to hit home runs out of. How will that affect each team as they play in this? Because that's one of the beauties of baseball. We don't play on the same field. And one could think logically these are different games depending upon where they're going to play. So we saw this with the Astros sweeping those games at home, losing all of them on the road against the Yankees. How are they going to play when they have to leave what is familiar?
Bill Plashke, floor is finally yours. You've waited 29 years to cover a Dodgers World Series. Go ahead.
With Tim, I will address you first. The Dodger hitters will wear out the Astro pitchers. Opposing pitchers are throwing 50 more pitches a game on the average against the Dodgers because they are just taking deep counts. They are relentless. They are tireless up there. And, Sarah, you're exactly right. The bullpen is unbelievable. The bullpen's been untouchable. At one point, your Cubs, Sarah, were 0 for 29. The Dodger bullpen now has a 23-inning scoreless streak going on. I don't know how the Astros get the last 6 or 7 outs of the game. So I think the Dodgers, the bullpen is a clear factor, plus the factor of starting in L.A., best home crowd in baseball. It's going to be hot tonight. Dodgers are 8-1.
Best home crowd in baseball. Oh, you're talking about your readers.
I can say it. Bring it on. I can say it. Bring it on now.
Very systematic takedown from Plashke there. He went one by one. Anybody have to defend themselves? Anybody? Kalishaw, you want to try to?
Yeah, I mean, the Cubs have fine pitchers, but none of them this year pitching like Verlander just did against the Yankees. .56 ERA. He's not too worried about those pitch counts.
He ain't the Yankees.
Rack up.
Sarah, do you want to rally to your own defense?
I mean, best home crowd in baseball that shows up late and leaves early and spends most of the time
all right,
fighting in the stands.
Watch tonight.
Yes, when it's game 1 of the World Series, they get there on time. How wonderful. Take them mute. All right, we're done. Plashke's got a narrow lead. We're taking a break right here. Buy or sell in 2 minutes. Nuggets last night. It's 104-102 Washington after a timeout with 32 seconds left. Jokic walking off the court. Scott Brooks on the court. Contact made. A technical foul was called on Jokic. Free point for Washington, and that was basically the ball game. Bill, a couple questions here. Is that tech-worthy for Jokic? And what are the chances Jokic did that on purpose? And what are the chances Scott Brooks flopped?
I think it's tech-worthy. I think it's a clear example of any time a guy acts like he doesn't see somebody and then sees somebody. Oh, excuse me, sir. Whack. I thought it was clearly tech-worthy.
But doesn't that apply both ways? Also with Scott Brooks. I mean, Scott Brooks clearly saw him.
Yeah, but Brooks didn't flop. If Brooks flopped, he'd have hit the floor. He was hit by a big man. Clearly tech-worthy.
Tim Kalishaw?
I didn't see a lot there. I thought LeBron James hit Eric Spoelstra harder when they were on the same team walking to the bench about 6 or 7 years ago. This was a little brush, and is it intentional? Who can look from that Zapruder film you showed us and even have a clue what was going on?
Sarah Spain?
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for how far away the tape is. Tim is right on that. But it looks like he's staring straight ahead, sees Brooks in his way, and at the last second pulls up that elbow so he manages to get him. Now, Brooks clearly over-exaggerated the effect of it, but I watched it a bunch of times, and I just don't see how he's walking straight towards the guy and just happens to get that elbow up right at the last second by mistake.
Bomani Jones.
Man, that wasn't tech-worthy. Both of them had the option of getting out of the way. I'm not going to punish Jokic for being way bigger than that dude. And Scott Brooks did not flop in the way that you're thinking of a flop. He flopped, but he flopped right into the hold me back. And then the broadcaster was like, oh, Scott Brooks wasn't having any of it. He went and told the teacher. That was the flopping that he was doing, acting like he wanted it.
Okay, buy or sell too. Dwayne Wade coming off the bench. He says it was his call. I heard Jalen Rose and Jalen Jacoby wonder if it was LeBron telling Wade. But Tim, anything to see here?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's the right move regardless. I think it's a good move for the team, for JR, for Wade. And whether he's playing along with it or whether he actually did it, I don't think it matters much. It's got to be best for him and the team.
Sarah, anything to see here?
No, I think he said when he was going to the Cavs he was going to check his ego, and now he's owning up to that. They function better when he's in the second team playing the LeBron role where he gets the pick and roll partner and then they free up wide open shots on the outside. He didn't do well in that position as a starter. He looked at his stats and said, listen, I'm going to take one for the team.
Bomani Jones, your read on this?
Yeah, maybe he looked at his stats, maybe he didn't. I don't have an answer for that, right? But it does make the Cavs better, so there is something to see here. Now, the question is whether they came and told him that he was going to be coming off the bench, and at that point you come up and say, you know what, Coach? I've been thinking about what's best for the team. And then you do that, and then you get the dignity of saying you were the bigger man.
Because that's at play here, right? I mean, we're talking about a one superstar player. I mean, can you think in history of guys who are at his level that then had to come off the bench later in their career, Bomani?
I mean, it's hard to come up with, we could come up with some guys at different points, like Maravich at one point. We can come up with a couple others, but it's not that many.
Bill Plashke.
Yeah, I think it's a little naive to think that after 3 games, Wade, as selfless as he is, can really even know what's best for the team or know what his role is and come out and say, put me on the bench. I got to think LeBron had a little sit down with him and said, you know, pal, this is probably what's best for us. and I think this is what you need to do, and you go ahead and own it, and it'll make you look good. Because I can't imagine Wade taking that responsibility, that much ownership in anything. He just got there. So I think this.
Anybody else have any examples of Hall of
team.
Famers coming off the bench and it working well for them? I'm trying to think.
Bill Walton,
we know
Bill Walton did it with the Celtics.
Bill Walton did it. He was a Sixers,
McAdoo?
of course. Yeah.
Terrific with it.
McAdoo. Was Clyde Drexler coming off the bench for those Rockets teams by 95?
No,
Maybe? I don't
but
think so.
no, but everybody, it was Elijah Watt and everybody else. He may as well have been coming off.
Did Hambone ever come off the bench?
Hambone, I don't know. I turned to you guys for my Hambone. We'll move on. Buy or sell 3 is Deshaun Kaiser out at a Cleveland bar Friday night, early Saturday morning with teammates and some Chiefs players. Here's the video that surfaced. You're looking at it now. I'm not sure anyone would describe it as wild, but you can describe it however you see fit. His decision-making to be out 2 nights before a start came into question in the media session yesterday, and he's apologized for it. On the topic of decision-making, here's Hugh Jackson's when it comes to his quarterback this season. Sarah, a couple questions here. Is a player being out at a bar 2 nights before a game an issue? Is the team changing quarterbacks 8 times in 7 games an issue? And what is the bigger issue of those 2 then?
I don't think inherently it's an issue for him to be out. Friday night's a good night for him to be out because they have a late practice Saturday afternoon. As long as he gets enough rest and he doesn't seem like he's doing anything crazy or illegal or bad, you can't even tell if he's drinking from that angle, it seems fine to me. Now, that being said, I think his response was the right one, which is to say if anyone's talking about this, it means it's a distraction, even if it shouldn't be. And when you've been benched for 4 of 7 games, you've only made it through 3 complete games, and your team hasn't won a game yet, you're better off just inviting those guys back to your place and having a beer there.
Bomani Jones.
Look, I'm sorry. When I was his age, I would be out till 1 o'clock in the morning because I could still recover from being out till 1 o'clock in the morning. Young guys got bounced back. I don't see what the big deal is. He wasn't behaving raucously, and he's in an awkward situation because he's not the quarterback of the future. They did not take him in the quarterback of the future round, but they talk about him like he's the quarterback of the future, even though they drafted him specifically to have the option to go in the first round next year and get somebody else.
Bill Plaschke.
Yeah, but Bomani, he is their quarterback of the present. That's the most important position on the team. The team hasn't won a game. He leads the league in interceptions. It just looks bad. You're the quarterback. If you're a lineman doing that, nobody cares. You're the quarterback of a team with no quarterbacks and no wins and lead the league in interceptions. It looks bad.
Big Kelly Show.
I think we've lost our minds if we think a player's 21 years old can't go out 2 nights before a game. He's not being carried out of the bar. He was just in one. The Browns' quarterback problems go way beyond anything Deshaun Kaiser's doing.
Nice points after the horn for Kalisha, but not enough. Bill Plaschke doing you a solid. I mean, you got so many Dodgers fans getting to the game early tonight. You got to beat that traffic on the way in. So we're letting you go now. Enjoy the game, Plaschke. He's waiting so long for this. We got Spain, Jones. Sarah Spain, Bomani Jones. Welcome to Showdown. Here we go. Off the glass, N1 dunk in garbage time. Warriors rookie Jordan Bell did it. Everybody reacted in awe. Steve Kerr says he's going to give him a talking to. Does off the glass, Garbaggio time dunk rise to the level of a talking to, Sarah?
No, you can't do it in garbage time because you're flaunting too much. You can't do it when you're way behind because of the scoreboard. When can you do it? Just let him entertain us.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why you would be salty if you were the Mavericks because you were losing by 30 points. That's what the origin of the salt is. I feel like if this is worthy of a talking to, the talking to does not come from Steve Kerr. It should come from one of those Mavericks if they that mad.
Yeah, it didn't seem like any of the Mavericks were too worried about it. They've got a little bit more to worry about, I think. We'll go to Kalishaw for a Mavericks FaceTime maybe in 5 years. We'll move on. Showdown 2 is an around-the-horn investigation. Incorrect distances of races. This is an epidemic, people. Milwaukee Marathon was a half mile long. It was an eighth of a mile short. And maybe a few other people have, run into this problem as well. Casino de Venezia Maratona. Accidente! The motorcycle directing the leaders at the Venice Marathon took a wrong turn. They ran nearly an extra half mile. The runner who didn't follow the motorcycle wound up winning the race happened to be from the Venice Running Club. Bomani, eyebrows raised here?
I mean, I feel like I don't need to even talk about this. I feel like this is all I should give you. It's a tidy coincidence that the local is the only one. They just happen to know the streets and they went and fooled the other people. That looks like something out of wrestling.
Yeah, it looks very suspicious. But he still had to finish the last 10 miles or so and beat everybody that didn't get distracted by the motorcycle. So give him props.
So you're giving the Italians some props? I guess that's the right way to FaceTime on this show.
Yes. Kirk Cousins, Washington quarterback, just recently did an interview with Sports Illustrated talking about how he FaceTimed with his team's pre-Monday Night Football meeting leading up to their game with the Chiefs while his wife was giving birth. And the best part about it was he said, yeah, she could hear my coaches and teammates, but she didn't really mind. I just made sure to grab her hand when those contractions got bad. So I guess good.